Before we get into this video, I need to make something very clear. The subject I am about to talk about is a very volatile one. This specific topic has been covered by many major social media outlets. It's been covered by many top streamers, top YouTubers, and it has been the talk of the internet for a while now. And much like the rest of the civil unrest that's been going around, topics like these can get people very heated, very angry at each other, and can cause a lot of conflict. So I want to make very clear that what I talk about today, I am going to be unbiased in. Okay? I do my best to stay out of politics. Quite frankly, a lot of it bores me because I think that politics are frustrating, annoying, and half the time it makes me sick to listen to it, to talk about it, anything, because people get way too into it. I'm not going to be mentioning my stance on this topic. This video is merely me objectively taking a look at how the protesting has been handled and why it could have been done better, and why, if the ICE protesters really want to achieve their goal, the way that it's gone so far has not been the right way to do it. And Detroit Become Human especially has given me a new perspective on protesting. To give this video a brief overview, I am going to cover 3 major ways in which Marcus from Detroit Become Human did a better job with his freedom protests than the ICE protesters have done so far with their protests. Those 3 major reasons pertain to, number 1, Marcus's approach, his overall approach to the entire issue itself, the way that he targeted the media to further his agenda, and the level of his dedication to his cause, and how focused he was in achieving his goal. The very first step to be taken for a protest naturally has to be the approach. It's the first thing you consider. How are you going to handle your protest? What will be the methods you use to reach your means? In Detroit Become Human, scratch that. Let's start with the ICE protesters. The ICE protesters, their means of achieving their goal started immediately with anger and aggression. People forming crowds in public areas, trying to halt the business of officials in doing their jobs, with angry people, angry mobs of people, shouting, causing civil disruptions, recording and uploading online the behavior. The aggression was one of the first things that you saw from these protests. And it only escalates. Marcus, his approach completely revolved around pacifism, around peaceful, what actually is peaceful protesting in game. But there's only 2 routes you can take. You can take the violent route, or you can take the pacifism route. And when you choose the peaceful route, that's when Marcus looks his best. That's when his goal is making the best progress. There's no violence. He takes no human lives. He brings about a sense of unity amongst him and his peers. Him and the people who back his cause show a true sign of unionship. They are united to achieve a singular goal. They sincerely demonstrate their intentions with both dialogue and exposing their vulnerability and their determination to be treated as equals amongst those in the society in which they live. In contrast, oftentimes the ICE protesters have proven to be violent, unstable, and they have overall less of a desire to communicate at all. more often than not, they prefer aggression over pacifism. And anyone who has seen any coverage on it up to this point would be able to see that. Because of Marcus's peaceful approach to things, because of his desire to have an open dialogue about his motivations.
I know you're all angry. And I know you want to fight back. But I assure you, violence is not the answer here.
There is no room for suspicious intent. There is a clear indication of his intentions, which makes him and his group able to be taken more seriously and have a better chance at achieving that unity with humans that they so desire. You can see a lot of the sincerity alone of his goal simply from the approach he chose. Something as simple as the approach that you're taking can be dramatically effective in terms of how people perceive your overall mission. He chose the peaceful approach when trying to unify with humans, to integrate into their society. He chose peace. That's already an admirable way to approach it. The ICE protesters, for the most part, have only shown aggression. They have only shown violence, irritability, agitation. None of them are happy, and you can see it. And obviously, if you're protesting, you're not happy. But when you display these immature, rash means to achieve your goal, obviously that will have a negative impact on the goal that you're trying to achieve. You will never reach what you're trying to do if you start off the wrong way. The second way in which Marcus handles his protests better than ICE is with his appeal to the media. His decisions had an impact on the entirety of the public opinion. He was able to sway military and police and political officials on all sides merely because of the perspective on his position that he gave the public. Any media coverage that you saw of him was always talking about his peaceful approach to things. For instance, when you see footage of his very first attempts to liberate the androids, when he frees them, he paints the logo to represent their movement in a clean and safe way that did no damage to the park itself. The only destruction you saw out of Marcus came from what was necessary in order to free his own kind, to free the androids. There was no destruction that was unnecessary, and that which was deemed quote-unquote necessary brought no harm to humans whatsoever. But what you see from the ICE protesters is a lot of violence. You see the destruction of vehicles, burning vehicles. You see them gearing up with weapons. They've got gas masks on. On top of that, they don't appear to have any real sense of unionship whatsoever. There is no face of their movement. There is no public official leader. Marcus served as a symbol of hope for both his kind and those who supported him in his cause. There was no doubts about the leadership behind his movement and his goal for peaceful integration of the androids into human society. But with the riots and the protests for ICE, there doesn't seem to be any unionship or a clear leader behind the movement whatsoever, which can lead to a lot of miscommunication and adds a lot of suspicion to the overall look of the ICE protests. And it leaves a lot open to interpretation. Are there shadow leaders in the background that are funding this movement? What is the motivation of these people? Why is there no public face? Why does this just look like a chaotic group of people in the streets being violent for the sake of it, instead of a united group of people that want to handle the protesting in a civil manner so that people will take them seriously and try to actually achieve their goal? Because of the ICE protesters' inability to appeal to the media in a healthy way. And because they don't appear to be unified, that has led to a widespread variety of opinions on this particular issue. It's why there is so much civil unrest and why no one can seem to really agree on the motives of the protesters and why there seems to be widespread negative opinion with regard to these protests. The third way in which Marcus does a better job at peaceful protesting than the ICE protesters have done is through his focus and his dedication to his goal. Marcus faces a lot of difficulty in attempting to achieve his goal. He gets friends taken from him. He has violence thrown his way. He loses valuable allies. They have their lives taken in his peaceful protesting, and despite all the atrocities that he faces, he manages to stay true to his goal, stays peaceful, in no way turns to violence to try to solve his problem, and that dedication overall is admirable and why he gains so much public support. He overcame every obstacle that came his way because he had to. And even in the end, when the FBI member leading in his case attempted to extort him, bribe him, to lessen his influence and end his movement, sticking to his guns was what he chose.
You know, you could both be free.
This guy's such a
You
dick.
could forget about all this. You could start a new life someplace else, just the two of you. Her life's in your hands, Marcus. Just say the word and she'll be spared.
I'd rather die here than betray my people.
Well, you just signed your own death warrant.
Damn. That was close. This is so badass, bro. His level of dedication and focus inspired not only his own group, but those who supported him in the public even further, which only served to aid in his goal. The rioting for ICE has gone on for a while. The protesting for ICE has been going on for long enough now that you can tell it's chaotic. Their behavior itself creates an obstacle they have to overcome when achieving their goal. Because they have been so aggressive, because they have no clear leader, because they're not willing to have dialogue and communicate, they create their own obstacles for themselves, and they can't make any true progress towards achieving their goal because they simply refuse to sit and have civil dialogue. They seem dedicated, they seem motivated, they seem rallied, but in the end, it's just a bunch of chaotic individuals sparking anarchy and trying to rile up irritable individuals and use fear as a means to achieve their goal. There's no willingness to sit down and have a civil dialogue. Most of it, at least that which we have seen portrayed in the media, has been violent, agitated, and difficult to take serious. And that's why I feel, at least from my perspective, a lot of people see it more as entertainment and a way to laugh than people who legitimately want to take this topic seriously and aid in achieving the goal of being more accepting towards these illegal immigrants, like this movement claims to want the rest of the country to be. All of this only instills doubt in the public. It doesn't make them seem focused at all. It makes them seem unstable and unreliable. And that is why you've seen little to no progress in these protests whatsoever. Something that truly shows Marcus's focus on achieving his goal, and something that really goes to show just how dedicated he is when he loses, each time he loses someone close to him. When he lost Simon on the tower, when he lost the people in the streets when he was doing his peaceful protesting right after liberating the androids. His people literally handed him the firearm to take vengeance towards the police who were responsible for the androids who lost those lives. And he shows his dedication to the peaceful approach by sparing them. When he's standing in his peaceful march and the riot crew are gunning down his allies right in front of him, he holds firm and does not attack the police. Things like that, people talking about those things, him showing his focus in this way, not only shows his sincerity and how dedicated he is to his cause, which already will spark inspiration, but it of course gets people around him talking and rallying the public to his cause. They see the sincerity in his actions. They want to take him seriously. They want to hear him out because they see what his opposition is doing to him and how he is still willing to hold his ground and take himself and the goal for his people seriously. I hope all of this made sense. I attempted to be as straightforward and unbiased as possible. I think that I fairly made my points. And I'm really glad that in this particular time period where I'm facing more AI advancement online and when I'm facing these times of civil unrest on the internet, that I'm replaying these games that touch on those exact subjects. I mean, it was perfect timing, and it's what inspired me to make these videos. And I hope that you can see things, at least from a new perspective, after having seen this video. If anything that I had to say today resonated with you, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I know this is a very volatile subject, and it can be difficult to have civil conversations about things like this. And so I wanted to make this video to at least put my perspective on it out there and to give an unbiased, basic constructive criticism to this movement that people are trying to have in California, regardless of whether anyone thinks that is a positive or negative goal that these people are trying to reach. And I also wanted to give some perspective on why you see more people laughing at it and talking about it from an entertainment standpoint and not taking it too as much seriously. I mean, obviously the government's taking it seriously. I mean, think about the troops, the police, the military that Trump has had to utilize just to keep this situation under control. So I'm just meaning from a public's point of view, from people who have the luxury of looking at this from behind a screen, why people don't take it as serious as I think the people from within the movement would hope that people would. Thanks to you all for listening. My name is Traynerd. I'm fairly new to YouTube. Haven't been uploading long. I do stream on Kick almost every day at kick.com/Traynerd-73. I would love to hang out with some of you guys on there. I would love to share the experiences that I have in video gaming and in other things on stream with you. I hope to see any and all in the next video or stream. Deuces. Just a little addendum here. I would like to show a little clip before the end of the video here, just because this is one of Marcus's most important lines from the entire game, and I feel like most of us need to see this as we finish out the video.
The moment where we forget our bitterness and bandage our wounds.
There we go.
Where we forgive our enemies. Humans are both our creators and our oppressors, and tomorrow, we must make them our partners. Maybe even one day our friends. But the time for anger is over. Now we must build a common future based on tolerance and respect. We are alive! And now, we are free!